good afternoon from Saigon. I am in the DBAV office, the new DBAV office in Saigon, Bintan to be precise. It's at the moment it's 5:15 in Saigon. It is raining tremendously here. My name is Guido, and I am going to walk you through the webinar. We have about 109 registrations, and at the moment we have 55 attendees. At the moment, there are multiple parties trying to work on getting their foreign experts and families into Vietnam, and it's proving to be a very difficult task. In that light, the seemingly second wave of COVID in Da Nang is indeed intensifying things, and word goes that the Vietnamese authorities have some nervosity when it comes to the IC capacity in Vietnam. So that makes it even more difficult to get in. I will leave the details with the presenters, and these are the presenters today. I will give them the camera and the microphone one by one. We start with Frédéric. He's the general manager from Qatar Airways, country manager, I have to say, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Then we have William Haandrikman. William is general manager of the Metropole in Hanoi, the Metropole Hotel, and he's also the general manager of Accor in North Vietnam, Accor Hotels North Vietnam. We have a witness report from Amanuel Flobbe. I also, of course, have to mention that William is a DBAV board member. That is probably his most important function of all. And Amanuel is the founder of Sunbytes and CTO at WeSport. Then the other speaker that will help with answering the questions is Evert Visser. Evert is export manager at Paul Muller, and he is vice chair of the Eurocham and also a DBAV board member. My name is Guido van Rooij, and I am the executive director of DBAV. And my role is to put everyone in line and moderate the questions. On questions, if you have them, we will try to answer them live or at the Q&A. If you have a question now, then you can put it in and we can see if we can answer it at the Q&A. The webinar will be recorded and the link will be shared afterwards. And any questions that we find answers for, we will also update the list of registrations after the webinar. Do check the handouts. That is in the top right of your screen. This is where you can download the latest information that we are able to share with you. Any other information that we find and that we may find relevant, we can share that to you afterwards in a mailing list if you signed up for that. Program looks like this. I'm seeing that Frédéric seems to have some troubles getting in, but we should be starting with Frédéric. Then we should, after that, have, after his presentation, which will be about how to get into Vietnam and what are the latest developments. Then after that, we will have a presentation on from William, or a presentation, he's going to talk about how to get into hotel quarantine. Then Amanuel with a witness report, but it all revolves around questions and interactions. Therefore, I'd urge you to ask your questions in the chat, and we will go as soon as possible, maybe even before 6 p.m. We might go into the questions. So that is the program. I'm trying to find Frédéric. He says I'm in. I don't see him as of now. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can find him. Unfortunately, I see that Frédéric is not in the webinar, so I will try and put William as the first presenter. William, I'm going to ask you to turn the camera on.
Good evening, everybody. This is William from the Metropole Hanoi and from Accor, North Vietnam. Thank you very much for the introduction, Guido. I see Frédéric is online, so perhaps we can first Frédéric, because at that point we have first the airline and then the hotel.
Fantastic, much better. Thank you, William.
Yeah. Let me share the presentation. So, good afternoon, everyone, and can you hear me, Guido?
Yes, please continue. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to DBAV for hosting this webinar. So, in my presentation, I will address 4 points. The first one will be the impact of COVID on Qatar Airways operations in Vietnam and Cambodia. The second point will be to mention about Qatar Airways flight resumption and the schedule in August. The third point, which I think is also very interesting, obviously, is the procedure for inbound flights in August. And last but not the least, Qatar Airways flexibility and or safety and sanitary measures to address our customers' worries and travel needs. So, as you are most aware, the airline industry is unfortunately one of the most affected industries. This year, Qatar Airways was planning to fly 32 flights a week into Vietnam and Cambodia, double daily Hanoi, double daily Ho Chi Minh City, 4 flights a week into Da Nang, daily Phnom Penh. But as of today, Qatar Airways will only operate 10% of the planned capacity. In the past, I would be able to tell you in advance, the schedule for the next summer. But now, I guess airlines have to prepare the schedule on a month by month, if not week by week, based on the COVID developments. And I think Vietnam is a very good example. I think a month ago, Vietnamese domestic traffic was thriving, with actually Vietnamese airline even adding new routes to the network. But a week ago, and the outbreak in Da Nang, now there is no more flights to Da Nang until further notice. So as a consequence, I think many airlines had to restructure to adapt to the new environment, and Qatar Airways has not been immune to this process neither. So on my perimeter, Vietnam, Cambodia, we used to have 3 city ticket offices. Okay, one in Phnom Penh, one in Hanoi, and one in Ho Chi Minh City. And we have decided, for the safety of our staff, but also to offer business continuity to our customers, we have actually decided to close all those ticketing office. We're going to have all the back office centralized in Ho Chi Minh City, and we're going to use a remote sales force in both Hanoi and Phnom Penh. But for customers, I do insist this process should not impact neither our service, neither the safety of our operations. You can see on the slide, you can contact Qatar Airways on our Vietnam, Cambodia customer contact center. And outside of the local daily operation, you can still reach us on our 24/7 Doha contact center or in any call center in Europe. One advice I give also to the customers is to register to the e-newsletter. Then you will receive any notification about a schedule change, about the fares, or any other updates. Okay, so on the second slide, I'm happy to share that since last Friday, 31st of July, the civil aviation has approved 4 flights a week for Qatar Airways out of Vietnam. So for almost 3 months, from mid-April to end of June, we have stopped our flight, and we have resumed flying to Ho Chi Minh City since July. And we're moving from 3 flights a week in July now to 4 flights a week, 4 rotations. You will see that every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday morning, the QR 971 will depart Ho Chi Minh City at 2:30 in the morning. It will take you to Europe, to Amsterdam, for instance, like midday in the same calendar day. So if you depart on the 4th of, today is the 5th, so if you depart tonight on the 5th, this morning on the 5th of August, you would arrive the same day, midday in Europe. So as you're all aware, there is what we call a NOTAM, a notice to airmen, advising airlines not to carry passengers into Vietnam. That is until the 16th of September. So if you go on any distribution channel, agents, QR.com, you will not be able to buy a return flight to Vietnam before 16th of September. But there is a few categories of passenger authorized by the local authorities to fly to Vietnam, namely foreign diplomats, foreign experts, entrepreneurs, high-skilled workers, and other special cases which are able, if they provide the proper documentation, to fly back to Vietnam. This is going to be the next slide, but because I have this calendar, I want to explain that for this special traffic, we will take them back on 4 different flights. The 9th of August, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th of August, will be the flight where we will take inbound experts into Vietnam. It means that these customers will leave Europe, will leave Amsterdam, for instance, on Friday to Doha. They will have a long layover, though, in Doha, and then fly to Ho Chi Minh City and arrive on Sunday morning. The schedule on the way back is not optimum, I regret, but that's it to enable on the way out from Vietnam to the QR network to have a great connectivity in Doha. So usually the connections we have are below 2 hours from Ho Chi Minh City to the rest of the network. Okay, next slide. Oops. Okay, so you can see that on this slide, these are the connectivity we're having to Amsterdam, or 85 other destinations in our network. Yeah, it's very obvious, but I want also to stress, to highlight that wherever you travel in the network, I recommend you to contact our local contact center just to ensure that you have all proper documentation. Obviously, if you're Dutch, flying back to Netherlands is going to be pretty easy for you, but again, based on your nationality, based on your country of residence, in our case, Vietnam, for some of us, based on your type of visa, some Vietnamese will have like a short-term visa type C, some other will have like a longer-term visa type D. You may have, depending on where you're going, some different requirements. Some countries, for instance, like Lebanon, will ask you to make a COVID test prior to, to pay for COVID test prior to departure. Some other countries will ask you to fill an online health declaration form. So better you double check all this before you get to the airport to avoid, to ensure that you have an okay to board. The next slide is, obviously, we only fly now from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. We recommend all the customers who are flying from Hanoi to come to Ho Chi Minh City to enjoy, to reach the QR, the Qatar Airways network. But the customers can also go via Incheon and Narita, where they can also reach into the Qatar Airways network. But the connectivity, the layover in Incheon and Narita will be pretty long. Okay, right now you can imagine that 90% of our customers flying now out of Vietnam is one-way traffic. mostly repatriation. So on this page, there's a link. If you put the travel home discount code when you purchase a ticket online, you'll get a discount of 10%. This offer is valid up to the 31st of August for flights outbound one way, also by end of 31st of August. Okay, so the next slide is the one that many of you have been waiting for. So yes, it is possible to fly back to Vietnam if you belong, as I said, to the category of allowed passengers that are listed above. The first thing you will do is either send an email to the two ladies mentioned on the left-hand side, or give us a phone call to the call center. We'll provide you a booking and also a quotation. You can use that booking and quotation, actually, to submit all your application to the local authorities. So again, I repeat, we're going to target 4 flights inbound from Europe, inbound to Vietnam. The flights arriving in Vietnam every Sunday morning. So I will detail in the next slide the documents, but I just want to give you the high-level points first. Once you have collected from the local authorities all the required documents, we need you to submit that to our team. And together with the tickets, we're going to submit to the civil aviation what we call a landing permit. So we're going to submit that landing permit with the list of all the passengers who will have the documents and the documentation required. And then the third point is that once the civil aviation will approve our landing permit, and that may happen 1 or 2 days prior to the flight. So don't be stressed. We have made 3 requests so far, and the 3 requests have been approved by the civil aviation, and that was every time 1 to 2 days prior to departure. The largest inbound aircraft, the largest number of passengers we had was last week with 72 experts. There were like teachers on board, there were like entrepreneurs, there were like managers, there was also like family of skilled laborers. So yes, we need 7 days and once we get that approval, we will send to all the stations where we will have a customer, we'll send them the OK to board. Okay. Let me move now to the next slide. The next slide is the list of all the documents that we require. Again, 7 days prior to departure. I'll let you go through the list. The new one that just came in is the point number 6 on the left-hand side. And this is a challenging one because we're asking you basically to provide us every document 7 days prior to departure so that we have enough time to verify the document and submit to the civil aviation. But there is one item, which is the COVID-19 PCR test that is required also by the government. And this is new. It has just been implemented since today, actually, for every inbound customers coming from abroad. And depending on the country, getting a PCR test actually can be quite a hassle. So we're aware of that. So we understand that COVID test may not come 7 days prior to departure, but may come actually maybe 7 to 4 days prior to departure. But we need that one to submit to the civil aviation, again, to get the approval. So it's another complication, but we have to fulfill that task to get the CAN approval from the civil aviation. We are not experts in that part, but what we have done is that my team, while working with the customers, we try to understand a little bit about the process. So let me explain from what I collected from the first few customers who came in Vietnam. Basically, you submit an application to the Ministry of Labor. We have actually a template that we'll share with you also. It's a template that some of the customers have been using. You submit that template to the Ministry of Labor or your industrial zone of residence. Once you have that green light, you then submit that same application to the Ministry of Labor, to the People's Committee. And then the third one is that you submit, once you have that approval from the People's Committee and the Ministry of Labor, you will submit that to the Ministry of Health. And they will define for you which hotel you're going to choose for your quarantine of 2 weeks. And also they will arrange for you the transportation from the airport to your hotel. So that's what basically that is the feedback we collected from the few customers that got all the documents right to enter Vietnam. And on the right-hand side, that's the documents required for the diplomats. This slide also is very important. So questions we've been asked so many times. Whenever you buy a ticket with Qatar Airways, we understand that you need flexibility. So as you can see here, in case obviously the flight cannot happen, you'll get fully refunded within 30 days. But you can keep it also for another flight, or you can exchange for a voucher plus an extra 10% additional value. You can make unlimited change to every Qatar Airways ticket until the 31st of December 2020. So we try to offer you as much flexibility as possible. And the last but not the least, again, once you have this approval, the landing permits, you want to know that you're going to travel safely on board Qatar Airways. And you can see here listed a few measures that we put in place to ensure that you travel safely with the Qatar Airways. You will be given, for instance, a protective kit. So you're going to be given like gloves, a face mask, hand sanitizers, and you will even have to wear, as you can see in the middle here, like a face shield when you be traveling with us. So I think here I've gone through my presentation, Guido.
Thank you very much, Fred. I think it's a very clear story. To be precise, if I book a ticket and I turn out not to have my documents organized properly, can I then retry it again and rebook my ticket flexibly? Or?
Exactly. So for instance, you target this Sunday, but for some reason you're not ready, whether the COVID test or whether some documents will help you out to move on the next flight. So right now we've closed already applications for this Sunday. So now we're working now for the next Sunday next week.
All right. Well, thank you for the very informative presentation. To those that are asking, can I share the presentation? I've done so in the handouts. It's on the top right of your screen if you are on desktop. If you are on mobile, then you need to be a little bit more intuitive, but you can find it on the handouts, as well as the confirmed schedule of Qatar Airways. For the record, the webinar will be recorded, and the webinar and the slides and so on, I will also share those in an email with you after the webinar. Fred, thank you very much. Please do stay put for the questions. There are a few questions. I need to go through them, but as discussed, we go through them at the end of the webinar. Without further ado, I will now put off your camera. Can you help me with that? Somehow I don't see you, Fred. So can you please put off your camera and microphone? Thank you very much. And now I'm calling William into the screen.
Yes, hello.
Hello, William.
Share as well my presentation. 1 second.
Yeah, fantastic. William, how many customers, how many guests do you have at the minute at Metropole Hanoi, or do you rather not say?
So at the moment, after the COVID outbreak that we had in Da Nang, the entire hotel business in Vietnam went down. What we have seen is before the outbreak, everything went back on track. But as mentioned, we are one of the quarantine hotels in Hanoi, And I can luckily say that we have quite a lot of quarantine guests already in our hotel, and already from the month of June that we have accommodated people in our hotel for quarantine. So luckily we have that business, otherwise it would be quite tough.
Yeah, I understand. I understand it's quite tough times for the hotel sector. I think it's unparalleled, isn't it?
Yeah, because it is exactly what Frédéric mentioned. Yes, they need passengers to bring to Vietnam, and then we can put them in our hotels. The moment there are no flights, there will be no guest. But we have seen in the month of June and July that there was still the school holiday, so a lot of domestic travel. But of course, the domestic travel normally only stays 2-3 days instead of the vacation and the leisure stay for 2 or 3 weeks in Vietnam. So yes, for us it is quite a tough situation.
Yeah, I understand. Are you able to fire up your presentation,
Yeah,
William?
so I shared it on the screen, but apparently you guys cannot see it.
I cannot yet.
Okay, 1 second. Share.
What do you want to show? The administrative part? Follow the quarantine application?
Yeah, can you see it now?
I can share it for. Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay, perfect.
If you can zoom in a little bit, that would be best for everybody.
Okay, so as Fred already mentioned, there are 3 main stages in Hanoi, because Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh are slightly different. But the main stages in Hanoi is the company needs to send an application.
William, 1 second. Are you able to zoom in a little bit on the PDF?
Yeah,
if you
1
can?
second.
And then I will leave the stage for you.
1 second.
A little bit bigger.
It's clearer?
It's now. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there are the 3 main stages, as Fred already mentioned. So what is very important is that in Hanoi, still the Department of Health need to have first an okay from the government to issue the paperwork. So the company needs to submit to the Department of Health the reason why the person needs to be in the country. And yes, it will be diplomats and experts, and now as well in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh as well family members. Family members of experts are now as well allowed into the country. Then the Department of Health will send the application to the Department of Labor, and they're going to double check again if yes expert, if yes diplomat, or a high-skilled worker. And again, family members are possible. This process will take around 2 to 3 weeks. So if you book your flight, all airlines are now quite flexible, as Frédéric already mentioned as well. If the paperwork is not there, you can rebook your flight free of charge. But it will take a little bit longer, 2 to 3 weeks. And what we have seen in the last couple of days after what happened in Da Nang, the paperwork even takes a little bit longer because they are very cautious now on signing paperwork for experts coming into the country. Then after the approval of the Department of Labor, there will be the approval of the People Committee. The People Committee will at that point say yes or no, and they will instruct the ward or the district that they can receive guests in quarantine. I have put in the handouts all templates of all those documents. So your TNC, so your Human Resource Department or yourself can print those documents, and you know exactly which documents you need to get into the country or at least board the flight. What Frédéric mentioned, since today or even since yesterday, there need to be a COVID test prior to board the plane. In Holland, for example, that takes 7 days. It takes 7 days in Holland to get the COVID test. So plan your trip well. And again, with the hotels, we are as flexible as with the airlines. If you come later, no problem. You can change your room reservation without any cost. But changes are almost on a daily basis. So everything what we say today can already be changed tomorrow. But at the moment, yes, there need to be a COVID test, and in Holland it takes 7 days. In Frankfurt, for example, if you go to Frankfurt, they can do it at the airport, and it only takes 3 hours. So a lot of people are now changing. Instead of Amsterdam, they go to Frankfurt and board the plane of Qatar or Lufthansa or other airlines because it is much easier to get that test. Even with the Lufthansa, what they mentioned is, and I think with Frédéric as well, with Qatar, if you do the test at the airport in Frankfurt, they can even email you the results. So before you land in Hanoi or in your destination, at that point you have the test with you. But it is now crucial to get the test done. So the moment you arrive at the airport, it is important to have those papers with you, and what is important is that you will be put in a full suit, a full PPE suit. They will put you in transportation. If you're going to a hotel, there are 5 hotels in Vietnam. If you're the only one going to a particular hotel, you will be alone in the van. If there are multiple people going to your hotel, there will be more people in the same car. The car can be arranged and paid as well by the hotel, but it is separate invoiced by the Hanoi government because it is a special van with special medical equipment and as well an ambulance in front and behind the car. When you clear the immigration at the airport, it will take up to 2 to 3 hours in Hanoi. I know that in Ho Chi Minh it was a little bit faster, but here it takes our guests 2 to 3 hours to clear the airport. Then they will be suited up completely in the PPE and will be transported to the hotel. Arriving at the hotel, we have a special entrance, and as well all the other 5 hotels, they have a special entrance. The key will be provided by the government because there is one government agent at the entrance of the hotel, and you will stay in your room for 14 days. Depends, of course, if you have a room, a suite, it depends what you pre-book. But we always recommend if you stay 14 days, of course, to take a little bit a bigger room. After 3 to 12 hours, there will be your first COVID-19 test. It will be done by the doctor of the ward. She stays as well for the quarantine period in the hotel. So there's always a doctor in the wing where we have special quarantine rooms. Lunch and dinner will be served on the first day. There are full board packages or a la carte orders. Guests will be limited to their room and may not venture out during quarantine. So yes, you can open the window, but you cannot go out of your room. There are controls and patrols on the corridors. There are cameras as well. So the moment you venture out of your room, there will be somebody from the government telling you to get back into the room. If the first test is positive, a result after 24 hours, the guest will be removed from the hotel and will be brought to the National Tropical Disease Hospital. If negative, then of course you will stay for those 13 days. You will stay in the room where we will serve you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I have a dedicated team on the floor. They will put the food in front of your room. Then they will contact you, and you can pick up the tray and bring it inside. Again, we have fixed menus or a la carte. At the moment, we have only 100% positive feedback from the guests that stayed in our hotel about the service and the availability of our staff. You will be in constant contact, if you want, with our staff through WhatsApp, through phone, but you cannot see them face to face. On quarantine day number 13, there will be a second test. If the second test is positive, result after 24 hours, the guest will again be removed and be transported to the National Tropical Disease Hospital in Hanoi. If the test is negative, on day number 14, normally end of day or beginning of day number 15, the guest can leave the quarantine area. We have a lot of guests who stay another 3-4 days in our other rooms that are not on the quarantine, and at that point venture out to their companies or somewhere else. But it is very important to have those 3 steps prior your boarding of the plane. So yeah, so we have, of course, with the Metropole, we call it the luxury quarantine. There are as well some other 1- and 2-star hotels in Hanoi that accommodate as well. In Saigon, we have two ibises. There is the Le Méridien, and at the end of the presentation, we will share as well all the other hotels in Hanoi and in Ho Chi Minh. But very important is the 3 steps, and we can help you and guide you through those steps. And again, as mentioned, I have put the templates on the handouts, so please provide them to your human resource department so that they can really address to the proper department to make everything a smooth transaction. Again, it is possible. We get people in every day in the quarantine, but it takes a little bit of time to get all the paperwork done. But the moment the paperwork is done, everything is fine.
Fantastic. Thank you. Perfect. William, thank you for this very informative presentation. I'm going to assume that in large, the processes for hotels in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, and Qatar, for example, are the same, but they may differ in their details. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, it's correct. So both cities are the same. Sometimes they change a little bit day by day, but in total, everything is the same between Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh.
Okay. And do you, for example, I get a question from the chat asking about Qatar. Do you know anything about that, or?
No. So at the moment, the list of all the hotels who can receive quarantine guests is still a little bit opaque. As well with the DBFE, we try to get all the hotels listed. So the moment we have the full list, we will share them with all participants. But it is quite limited at the moment.
Thank you very much for your clarification, William. Super. Our next speaker is Amanuel. Amanuel is a passenger, and he has a witness report. Hey, Ama, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Are you at the Metropole Hanoi, or where are you located?
No, I'm in Saigon. I think Frédéric talked about the flight with the teachers and experts. They are my neighbors at the moment. I'm in Ibis Airport, Saigon. I spent, I think, 4.5 months, 5 months to get back to Saigon, to my company and my life here. So all the rules and regulations are already in the print and in the handouts. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the experience from the side of the traveler. The COVID test in Holland, I did it. It was, at that time, it was still doable in 2 or 3 days. My advice, what I saw along the way, is you need really an HR department and a good help that has a lot of time. Getting the paperwork done, getting everything done takes a lot of pushing and pulling. Don't expect people or departments to call you and give you information. So in our experience, it costs a lot of energy to get all the right information at the right time. I think this is one of the most important things if you want to prepare the paperwork. Somebody on the ground in Saigon or Hanoi to do the paperwork. The second thing is, of course, a test. I saw people being not allowed on the flight. I saw people in Dubai when I went with Emirates in this case. I saw people not being allowed because even Vietnamese nationals were not allowed on the flight because they didn't arrange the quarantine papers or the quarantine location. Don't underestimate or don't think that you just can take a flight and it will be all right. This will not happen in this case. They are quite strict. And I think that that's the main thing. If you follow the steps that they give you in this presentation, if you follow all the steps, all the approvals, then it will be okay. But for example, in my flight from Dubai to Saigon, there were only 3 people on the flight. One of my friends came 2 days later. There were only 2 persons on the flight, and it was because the paperwork is just very hard. It's last minute. The government, as Frédéric from Qatar already told, the paperwork will be last minute. I didn't know until I was the day itself actually if it would be good, and still I was not sure if the flight would be going. So be prepared to be a little bit uncertain. but also be prepared that just to make sure that if you do everything on your side, probably everything will be okay. So this is more the experience from that side. So you can try to get 100% certainty, but you will not have it until you are on the flight itself in the air above Saigon, to be very honest. This is my experience, and I'm looking forward to the questions later on.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Ama. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen with the questions that were asked before the webinar. Just a minute. Somehow it's not here anymore. Yeah. We have received a number of questions live in chat. Let me see what I find out this stuff. These are the questions that we got during the registration, and I'm now going to put my screen off, and I'm going to put William, Ama, and I'm going to ask that of Fred to come online.
Yeah, so if you go to the first question, I'm a foreigner living in Vietnam. My company is based here, but I need to travel in the region for business. Can I leave with the expectation that I will be allowed to re-enter to Vietnam? Yes, you can, but you have still the same procedure to follow. So you need, if you want to re-enter back into Vietnam, you need to have all the paperwork done. You need to go back 14 days into quarantine. And you need to be, of course, an expert. But if you already live over here and you have a work permit and a residency card, then probably you will get the paperwork. But I highly recommend to get your paperwork done before you leave the country, because you need to have the same paperwork as if you come from Holland or somewhere else. So that was for the first question. The second question is GBA planning another repatriation flight. So we talked with the GBA, and we are still trying with the European Chamber, but we are trying to use an existing commercial flight to see what we can do for the people, because approximately we still have 160, if I understand well, 160 Dutch people who still want to come back to Vietnam. So yes, the Eurocham and all the chambers, including the DBIV, are trying to charter a flight. The next question is how to repatriate Vietnamese seafarers. It's a good question, and I think Frédéric, you had a reply on that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm not sure who asked the question, but we need to know if these Vietnamese seafarers are going to purchase their own tickets, or if it's going to be a company, their company taking care of them. Right now, we've only transported foreign diplomats and foreign skilled workers. So far, I've seen that the Vietnamese have been handled by the Vietnamese authorities through special repatriation flights organized by the Vietnamese embassies abroad. And most of the time, they have been using Vietnamese airline, like Vietnam Airlines, Bamboo, or Vietjet. So we need to know for that question, who is basically the customer? Is that a company that can like would accept a charter flight, or is that like individuals paying for their own tickets?
Yeah, okay, thank you. And yeah, so for the Vietnamese citizens, they cannot stay in one of the quarantine hotels in Vietnam. They need to go to the military base. So they are not allowed to go to hotels. Okay. So the question was recorded, yes. Spouses. So spouses are now allowed. Since 1 week and a half, spouses are allowed of experts. So yes, but ask for the paperwork. So you need to have the proper paperwork as well for the spouse. So don't count on that you have only your paperwork for yourself and that your spouse can go with you on your paperwork. That's not true. So you really need to have the paperwork done for everybody, so spouses and family members. Then there was a question, will there be flights between Vietnam and China? To be honest, we don't know. At the moment, they were talking about a bubble, but now with Da Nang as well, everything is quite uncertain. What I understood is that perhaps the 8th or the 9th of August, there will be again a small announcement from the government to see what are the next steps after the outbreak in Da Nang. What is the definition of a foreign expert? As Fred already mentioned, there's an excellent question. Experts at the moment are people who have or a work permit or a residency card or are high-skilled workers to finish projects that are funded by the government. For example, now we have skilled workers for the subway in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, and they get as well the entry permit. Then you have, for example, skilled workers from Samsung or LG who get their entry visa to enter into Hanoi or into Haiphong. So for sure, everybody who has a work permit, everybody who has a residency card can apply for expert. It is not a randomly, if you say, okay, now is the time that I want to do business in Vietnam, that is considered as a special case, and a special case needs to be addressed by the CDC.
Thanks. The last question, what's the process to return as a resident? And then we go to the questions that have been asked live in chat. We have about 20 other questions, so we'll see how far we can go until about 10 past 6, 15 past 6, I suppose.
Okay, so the process to return as a resident, not company employee, is not related to a company or diplomat, as Frédéric already mentioned. So that needs to be addressed separately to the CDC, because it's a special case. They don't fall under experts or on the diplomats.
So I'm now going to go through the questions that have been asked. I try to answer them very concisely. If I think I know the answer, I'll just have a go, and otherwise I'll leave it to the experts. Okay, Mark asked, is it possible that my Vietnamese partner can join? Yes, that's possible since 1 week and a half, correct?
Correct. So your Vietnamese partner is possible, but the paperwork needs to be in order. And no, you cannot join her for the 14 days quarantine.
So she needs to go to a base. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, Amma, what do you want to say? Yeah.
In this case, in Saigon, I know cases where they applied for the hotel quarantine with a family and a child, a Dutch husband and a Vietnamese wife, and they got the paperwork approved for the Ibis hotel. But it took a lot of effort to get this done. It was not automatically, and it took a lot of pushing and pulling. Like I said before, really make sure you have time, somebody on the ground to do this.
Yeah. That is correct. So there are some exceptions. If the expert is traveling with the Vietnamese partner, then there can be some exceptions. If the Vietnamese partner is traveling alone, it is very difficult. And they say
thanks. Question for Fred is he is looking for an overview of country by country, so not just but the whole schedule, the whole connection of Qatar Airways. Can you provide us with that, Fred?
What to provide again, sorry?
An overview country by country of all the connections that Qatar Airways can at the moment provide.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, easy. I'll share that next later on. Yes.
Fantastic, and I will make sure that that reaches everybody then.
Yeah, the map was a little bit small, but we have a bigger one.
Okay. Then I have a question from Jeroen. He says, it says entrepreneurs are allowed, but does that apply to all Dutch entrepreneurs who want to do business in or with Vietnam, or only if you have an office or operation there?
At the moment, what we understand is only for operation, but let me check again with the local government here, because at the moment is only people who have companies here or are here as an expert with funded Vietnamese government projects.
Question from Bruce is, do you do flights from Japan to Vietnam for Vietnamese people, Fred?
Then you would have to fly via Doha, yes.
Fly via Doha, okay. Another question for you coming from Gert. Is there already clarity about return flights to Vietnam in early September?
Sorry, the question before was for Vietnamese, and again, so it was Vietnamese, correct? From Japan.
Okay, yeah, Vietnamese coming from...
So for that one, yeah, usually for Vietnamese, we recommend Vietnamese to contact the Vietnamese embassy. Usually Vietnamese embassy will arrange repatriation for their own citizen, unless, as we just mentioned earlier, they come together maybe with an expert. That's a different story. The second question was...
The second question was if there's coming from Gert, is there already clarity about return flights to Vietnam in early September?
It's a very good question. So as I said, for August, we've got the civil aviation kindly approved our slots, but that was almost like 1 day prior to departure. So right now, I think our flights are confirmed until the 16th of September. I don't see any reason why our September program would not, beyond 16th of September, would not be approved. So far, it went smooth. But it's true that we only get the approval recently, very lately.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to share a poll that everybody can live answer on. I'm going to continue with the questions, but the question is, would you be interested in a periodic returning online event on this topic? That is just good for us to know. I'm now looking at the other questions that are. One of them is coming from, I believe it's Sumi. Sumi asks, is the approval from, she asked about approval from Immigration Department, between brackets, if applicable. When is the approval applicable and when is that not applicable?
So the approval from the government is always applicable. So you always need to do have the 3 steps. So the government needs to, before you board the plane, you need to have the documents from the government with you. Otherwise, it is impossible to board the plane, and you will not be allowed to enter the country.
I think this question is also related that some people, for instance, already have a work permit, for instance, or a residency. And I believe these people should not be facing the issue for the. But I think some other people would come with some special visa. So maybe that was that's for those people. Maybe because it's true that that's what we wrote in our slide, and we need to clarify that point indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even people with work permits or people with temporary residency cards, they still need to have the okay from the government to re-enter.
Agree.
So everybody needs to have the paperwork, otherwise they will not let you into the country.
Yeah, agree.
If you have a residency card, even if you have a work permit.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Matthias. Oh, yeah, can I continue? Yes. Yeah.
My personal advice for this one is make sure you check with the airline if you have all the paperwork in order, that before you step on the flight, that in Ho Chi Minh, Saigon, your staff is getting all the paperwork to the airliner, they confirm it. Because at the gate, you cannot have a discussion about entering the plane. It should already be solved before you go to the airport. So make sure that your staff is in constant contact with Qatar or whatever airline you use, because they are the ones that with the final approval, and they will get the final approval directly from the government. So you will not get it, and you will depend on them for that part.
Especially for my members, I can advise them if they need assistance in obtaining permits, documents, and getting through, need help, boots on the ground, so to speak, contact us. That is the email address right there. Otherwise, sometimes your local staff will also be able to help, but we offer a bit more expertise right now. Okay, Matthias.
Yeah, and if your local staff needs any help, they can contact us as well, and we can help as well to guide you to which department you should go and if your paperwork is in order. But as Armando already mentioned, before you board the plane, ensure that you get the green light from the airline.
Important remark. Quick question from Matthias. Flights from Hong Kong to Doha. Any advice on how to book it?
So I would, you have to contact our contact center, and then we'll provide you the potential itinerary to reach Ho Chi Minh City from Hong Kong.
Yeah. Eric asks to William if the Meridian in Ho Chi Minh City is also an approved COVID hotel.
Yeah, so it was an approved the COVID hotel, and I will share as well with the Guido the list of the hotels that we know now in Ho Chi Minh and in Hanoi who are approved. I know that in Ho Chi Minh there were two more hotels approved, and Evert was as well in contact with some other hotels. They were in the process to get approval.
Okay, a question coming from Nejat. He asks, as we will connect via Qatar, is there a possibility to take the flight to Qatar from the original departure location and not be able to take the flight from Qatar to Ho Chi Minh and get stuck in Qatar?
You can fly basically from any of the 86 destinations now we're having on the network, and you will arrive in Doha. Right now, the way we've designed our schedule in Ho Chi Minh City, you will have a long layover in Doha. But in theory, you're supposed to have all the documentation approved, as we just said earlier, before you even board from your original destination port. So usually it should be smooth. Once you depart from Amsterdam, you would already have all the documents okay to board. Then you arrive into Doha, where you have a long layover, but then it should be also smooth boarding from Doha to Ho Chi Minh City. I'm not sure if I got the question right.
I think so. I think he's afraid to get stuck in Qatar midway.
I mean, in case you get stuck in Qatar midway, we have like 4 flights a week, so we should be able to. Yes, you're right. The landing permits. We should be able to get the landing permit approved within maybe 1 or 2 days, as I said earlier. So that never happened yet. Hopefully will not happen, but we would work with civil aviation if that customer has been approved already on the first flight, but for some reason could not get into that flight. We'll try to request from civil aviation to accept them on the following one.
Just follow through on that question. If it doesn't go, which you have never experienced, then you will work very hard to get him on the very next flight. Okay. How do you stay over at Qatar Airport then? Do you have?
Our customers, we have some special lounge where you can like a family lounge. We have like a rest lounge where we also like apply social distancing. And there's also like a hotel also in the airport.
Okay.
And what is very important, what the Lufthansa mentioned last week, is that if you have a stopover in Taipei or a stopover in any other country where you need to change terminals, where you need to have a visa to change terminals, you need to be ensured that you have those visas as well. Otherwise, you got stuck in the terminal and you cannot go to the other terminal. So very important because they had a few cases with the Lufthansa that people did not have the proper visa to go to the new terminal.
Yes, we had also like cases of customers asking us if the long layover, can we go and make a tour of Doha? I said, probably not. You have to stay in the airport.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to ask the question from Hua. Hua is from the Embassy of Vietnam in the Netherlands. We also have a lot of citizens who are waiting for the repatriation flight to come back to Vietnam, and it might be not enough for all citizens. is there any chance to join our citizens in your flight, so we can collaborate to fulfill a charter flight with Dutch and Vietnamese?
It's a great question, Roy. We have been trying to reach to MOFA and also some ambassadors, Vietnamese ambassadors abroad, because obviously we fly those aircraft, so most of them are feeling empty, and it could help a lot the Vietnamese stranded abroad. But right now, I believe, and again, I'm not speaking on behalf of MOFA, because I think it's easier maybe for the Vietnamese to arrange those special repatriation flights through the embassies and Vietnamese airline, because I think there's also the challenge of the quarantine, number of quarantine beds. Right now, for us, for the foreigners, we stay in the numbers of hotels that we just shared earlier. But for Vietnamese, they stay in special camp. And I think it's one of the issue right now is that we've been working, I think was with the Mozambique also embassy, and the Mozambique embassy also was willing to work with us, but there was not enough beds in I think for them to be hosted for the quarantine when arriving in Ho Chi Minh City.
Okay. Okay, let's explore that opportunity a bit further. Hua, please do send me an email. Let's see what we can do there. Indeed, combining flights seems to be the way, because we have, for example, had a successful repatriation, I can't call it a repatriation flight, but an expert flight, a project that was led by the Germans. We can do that as well, of course, with the Dutch or with the French. And Hua is now saying that she will send me an email for more details. So that is perfect. Gentlemen, we're at the end of all questions. Is there anything finally that you would like to share, William, Fred, or Anna?
Yeah, so
Yes.
what is very important is that you follow the steps. Follow the steps, and you need boots on the ground in Vietnam to get the paperwork done. The moment you have the paperwork done, and yes, it will take 2 to 3 weeks, but the moment you have the paperwork done, you can come back to Vietnam, no problem at all. You stay 14 days here, and then you're again ready to roam around in Vietnam. But the paperwork needs to be done, so that's crucial. And use your contacts at the airlines. If you need contact from other airlines, let us know. We have already from Qatar. We have the emails. Send them an email, because at that point they can validate if the paperwork is ready, yes or no. Because the moment they let you on the flight, they are responsible for you. So for sure they will give you the green light or the red light if the paperwork is not in order.
Okay, Amma.
Yeah, so the question about hotels before, in my process, I remember that after you get approval from DOLISA or the People's Committee, they will give you a list of approved hotels. So don't start booking hotels before this list from the government in your approval, because it's quite important. It can change, it can update it, and they will not approve, because after the hotel is booked indeed, the hotel also needs to get approval again. So it's quite a busy schedule for the people on the ground here.
Correct, yeah. So
that's the last one.
And that is as well. So with Accor, we have a few properties in the south. We have the Metropole in the north, where we can really help you, and we have very close relationship with the governments here, so we can process as well paperwork a little bit faster. So it is better to work with an international chain than perhaps with the local hotel. That is always a little bit tricky.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, I have the result of the poll as well. The question was whether people would be interested in a periodic returning event on this topic. Answers overwhelmingly yes. 92% say yes, please. 4 say maybe. How would you feel about such a thing, Fred or William? Can I call you again next week?
Of course, you're welcome.
No problem. Yeah. No problem, and then if we have updates, because it is almost a weekly update as well from the government, then we can give the changes what the government has decided. And again, after the 8th of March, probably there will be some new announcement from the government due to the COVID breakout.
Please, everybody that is joining the webinar, if you find information, then also share that with me, for example, in the email. we will then review it and see if we can update ourselves. So that is great. First off, Ama, thank you very much for sharing your experience. Super good. Fred, you also, thank you for taking this initiative. I think it was a great idea. For both of you, for William and for Fred, it counts, of course, that your sectors have been so roughly hit. So I think it's very, it's great class that you are joining this webinar and still helping out others, whereas you have been hit the hardest yourselves. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank
Gentlemen, I'm going to close the webinar. Thank you very much, and I will send a post tweet somewhere tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
you so much.